including prayers. United is not saying how many people on board each of these flights, how many flight attendants, how many pilots. So at this point, that is their statement. They're saying one plane. They are confirming Flight 93 that was from Newark to San Francisco crashed near Pittsburgh. Another flight deeply concerned about United, Flight 175, Boston to Los Angeles. That's a Boeing 767. Now, on a typical day, there'd be some 4,000 flights of all different aircraft, including military, general aviation, commercial aircraft in the skies. As
schools where youngsters are being walked to another location, to another school, just to be safe. I'll give you those 3 schools that are involved. PS 89, youngsters are being
Still not working. We want to let you know again, as you can watch the bottom of your screen there, you will see various facts coming to you. Again, the latest from the mayor is he has a sense. This is a quote from Mayor Giuliani. Quote, "I have a sense it is a horrendous number of lives lost." Again, unnamed sources within the police department telling us that it appears thousands of lives may have been lost.
Okay, I have some updated news here. United Airlines Flight 9.
Battery Park City still. John, are you there? John Schumo?
Pat and Sharon, we are now down live at Battery Park City, where we've been since about 9:30. I want to show you what is left of the World Trade Center. You can see as you look up the place here, covering absolutely everything.
Flight path. This is the second plane that was heading in that flight path direction. Marcia, are you ready?
Yeah, what I was going to tell you, I'm going to try to tell you again, is that it's beginning to look more and more as if this was a well-planned out attack on all major installations in New York and in Washington. We're now told, CBS 2 has now learned, that the plane that crashed outside Pittsburgh was actually en route to crash and attack Camp David, the presidential retreat. So to recap, there are still 4 unaccounted for planes. There are 4 unaccounted for planes. There's one in Dallas that has been surrounded by F-16s. There are 3 others that we're still trying to locate. But the 4th plane that we know about that crashed was actually targeting Camp David, the presidential retreat.
All right, Marcia, thank you. Also, there's been a lot of speculation, and will be for some time, about who takes responsibility for this. I want to read you a quote from a man who is employed at Jane's Transport of London. Jane's, of course, worldwide leader in expertise as far as military aircraft, in fact, all aircraft. This quote is, "This is perhaps the most audacious terrorist attack that has ever taken place in the world." This man's name is Chris Yates. "It takes a logistics operation from the terror group involved that is second to none. Only a very small handful of terror groups on that list. The name at the top, Osama bin Laden." Also, President Bush, as you know, perhaps you saw earlier today live on national television, promising a full-scale hunt for those who committed this act of terrorism. And again, the president, hours ago, did call this an act of terrorism. There was some speculation in the minutes following the first impact on the World Trade Center. Perhaps this was something else, an air disaster of some kind. From there, apparently, when we saw the second attack, it was clear,
very obvious.
It seemed clear it was a terrorist attack. Since that time, we know that another bomb was set off at the World Trade Center. And if you are just tuning in, you will see there is no more World Trade Center. Both towers have collapsed.
I think what is incredulous and what a lot of us are just having a hard time understanding is how could this country, with our intelligence and counterintelligence, how could this get by us? How could something of this magnitude happen? Certainly answers, you know, this question is going to take a while to get answers to this question.
CBS News reporting that just 3 weeks ago, Osama bin Laden himself promised an unprecedented attack on U.S. interests. Again, and the World Trade Center obviously...
To get their children, the students already, but those who were in the area in harm's way in PSIS 89 were taken to PS 41, and as well those from PS...
Hotels in Battery Park City. Jeff Rawson, at about 11:15 or 11:10, was reporting live and said he heard an explosion. We want to get an update on what might be happening down there because that's new smoke rising. Sarah Wallace, I'm sorry, Control Room, what are we going to? Okay, we want to go to some of the sound bites and sound from the witnesses. Nope, we're now going. Go ahead, Sarah.
A live news conference right now. We've closed the airport to all arriving and all departing flights. We've increased our security measures. We've shut down all the construction sites within Logan Airport, both airside and landside. And we've shut down all security checkpoints and removed all passengers who had been previously screened out into the non-secure part of the airport. We've activated our Family Assistance Center at the Hilton Hotel based upon some reports that some of these flights may have originated from Boston. We're asking the media's assistance to notify any family members that may have had families flying on those flights that we've had various reports on to call these following numbers. American Airlines, 800-245-0999. Secondly, family members can call a Mathport number, 617-568-3100. We've also urging people not to come to the airport at this point in time. We've increased the shuttle buses from the terminals to the MBTA Blue Line stop, and the MBTA has increased the frequency of subway transportation. We are in close communication with the FAA, the FBI, State Police, Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
You have been listening to Joseph Lawless, I believe, with the Port Authority in Boston. He is, of course, referring to that Boeing 767, I believe it was, Flight 11 that came out of Boston this morning. That, I believe, is the plane that crashed into the first tower. Is that correct, Jim?
Second.
Or the second tower.
Second tower.
Yep. The one that, in fact, you have seen on videotape
South
this
Tower.
morning,
Yeah.
the South Tower. Again, Joseph Lawless, Port Authority. There it is again, this horrifying sight on your screen. That was a flight out of Boston, Flight 11-767. He's simply giving direction and information to the families in Boston who may have had loved ones, friends on that flight.
Unbelievably disturbing scenes. We want to go to some of the sound and interviews we've been doing with some of the witnesses that saw this destruction firsthand this morning.
I was in One World Trade Center.
And what was it like in there? Did they start evacuating?
Yeah, because as soon as it got hit, I was thrown to a window. So I was very lucky to get out. There's a lot of people that didn't get out. There's a lot of people coming down the stairs, burnt up. It's bad.
Were there other people that were hurt, were lying
There
there?
was a lot of people hurt. They were lying on the floors, coming down the stairs. A lot of people had asthma attacks while they were coming down. It was bad. It hit in One World Trade Center, it hit somewhere on the 67th floor. I was on the 56th.
And was it chaos trying to come down the steps?
Yes.
What was it like? Describe it for us.
Everybody was on top of each other trying to come down, and then somebody finally calmed the crowd down to get them to come down the stairs in an orderly fashion and get them out of the building.
And what just happened now?
The building just came down. One of them, I don't know which one came down. I don't know if it was one or two.
What did you start doing when that happened?
Running. Like everybody else, but trying to calm the people down while they were running, because I told them this is how people get hurt. Is that when they start trying to, get out of the way, and it's just crazy. I just thank God I made it down from 56.
We just come out of Tower 1. We were walking towards Broadway. They're saying, move along, move along, move along. I looked up as soon as we got across the street. I looked up, I saw the tower start to buckle. I just turned and ran, ducked down, put a jacket over my head. 3 or 4 of us huddled together, and it was just black everywhere.
You've been listening to sound from some of the eyewitnesses. We have Eyewitness News reporters all over the city in Lower Manhattan trying to file reports. We are hampered, frankly, by communications. Much of our communications, obviously, if you tried to use your cell phone, you know that there's Jeff Rossin trying to get in.
One of those vans that he talked about being covered with smoke, everything down there. If you've been with us this morning, you've seen what it looks like volcanic ash. In fact, we've had more than one person describe it that way, a thick layer of dust on everything down there, in addition to the smoke, and you've heard...
Were there any delays, and was there any conversation between the pilot and the tower that seemed unusual?
Flight number 11 left at 7:59. I believe it was on time. Everything went as scheduled when it left Logan Airport. I don't have a passenger count right now.
Are you aware of any communication from the pilot?
No, I'm not.
Would its flight path to L.A. normally have taken it south towards New York?
I can't answer that. I don't have any information on that flight path.
When did the tower here detect that there was something wrong?
Again, I don't have that specific information.
What was the plane before?
I don't know.
What time is United flight from?
I have no information on the United flight right
How
Oh.
now.
unusual would it be? New York,
Again, I'm not familiar with.
We're going down. Firemen were passing us going up. They were stopping approximately every 10 or 20 stories, given the heat of the stairwell and the amount of gear that they were wearing. Burn victims were also being passed down as they were making it down. Fortunately, we did have electricity and there was good air in the stairwell, and we exited through the concourse at the bottom of the building. There were tons of emergency personnel from the DEA to the FBI to the police and firemen leading us out. The concourse level, the elevator banks were collapsed. The stainless steel doors were caved in. The marble panels in the elevator bank and the main lobby floor were falling off the walls. There's about 6 inches of water on the floor in the lobby, and as we exited out the building, we exited to Church Street. I was out for approximately 30 seconds right next to the Century 21. We heard a crackling, and that's when the first tower crashed down. There was a stampede of people that were running away from the towers. There was a cloud of white debris and smoke that was, if you will, chasing us as we were going down the street. We ducked into a building. We would then realize that we may be in line for the second building if it was going to fall. We exited that building. I made it to the Brooklyn Bridge, and at that point heard the same crackling, turned around, and that's when the first World Trade Center building fell.
My goodness, Scott, how many people were with you? You keep saying we, pack of 10, or how many?
The stairwell, as far as you could see, was packed with people. Everyone on my floor, approximately 120 people, were evacuated, and they were in the stairwell. I was one of the last people on my floor to leave. But just the stairwell was people backed up to people for as far as you could see down.
Scott, I'm struck by how matter of fact, and I'm sure you are in shock right now about what's happened. Can you take us into the building, into that stairwell, in the moments following the impact, and tell me what were people doing, what was going through your mind?
Immediately after the impact, we went out to get to the stairwell. The carpeting on my floor was on fire. There were people screaming from what appeared to be the elevator bank. When we went to the first stairwell, there was commotion. People were running as hard as they could going down, but they reached a point and someone made the good choice of, there's just too much smoke, we're not going to run through this. And that's when we turned around and came back upstairs. People at that point, their faces were covered with the black smoke. Someone had called, actually, one of the people on my floor, someone had called her relative who actually used to work for the MTA and said, the only concern you have is the smoke. These buildings are not going to collapse.
Oh.
So the great news was there was not panic in the stairwell as we were exiting the building. The lights were on. The firemen were very helpful. They were cheering people on. They actually used their axes to break open the vending machines and passed out the water and the juices and whatever it was. It was very hot in the stairwell, but fortunately the lights...
The way there's a bomb on board that flight, so it is chaos in the skies for those flights that were already in the air. Other flights have been grounded. This country has been immobilized in terms of where its attention now is focused on New York City and Washington, D.C., the tragedies in Pittsburgh as well. No air travel, no financial markets. All national monuments are being evacuated. The president has been rushed back to Washington, D.C. The Pentagon has been attacked by an airliner, in effect, and on Capitol Hill, code red. The Speaker of the House was taken to a very secure area because he's third in line. Succession